Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, hi, my name is Heli and I post the Sims 4 speed builds and let's plays every week to this channel. In today's video we are actually building haunted house, and I didn't limit any packs, but I wanted to use the new pack. And yeah, I also used all the packs that I have so far. So this is not done with limited packs only, but I will be probably in the future I will be doing those kind of builds too. If you haven't seen I think it was my last video where I used only the paranormal stuff pack and city living. If you want to see that, I can link that video down below so you can go and check that out if you are interested in limited pack builds. And I already announced in some of my latest videos that I will start doing haunted house builds with creepy voiceovers, where I will be talking about paranormal stories that I found or that I will find from internet. And this is the first video I will be doing that. But before we get to the paranormal story, I wanted to say something about the build. So I was really indecisive once again with the exterior of the house, and somehow it was really hard to figure out how I wanted the exterior to look like. So I will be changing that a lot, and I will be figuring that out a lot. So I tried to edit this speed build as much as I could, but so that you could still see the building process and maybe even see what I was thinking. I don't know if you can see but anyway, I didn't want to edit that too much, but I still edited a lot of this speed build. So I'm sorry if this seems like it is jumping from one clip to another, but yeah, I tried to make it as smooth as possible, but it was really hard because yeah, like I said, I was really indecisive once again. And yeah, but I am happy about the final result that you will see in the end of this video, and you already saw that in the thumbnail. So I am really happy about that, and I think that although it is not like abandoned, I really don't know how to pronounce that word, but yeah, abandoned haunted house, it is, or if I would go by that house, I would be so creeped out. And the story behind this house was probably this house was abandoned before the new owners moved in, and they are kind of like still renovating the house and trying to make it home again. And I will, in my own game, it will be haunted house, but you can choose if you want that to be haunted house, or if you don't want that to be haunted house in your game, or if you don't have paranormal stuff. There is still a lot of stuff from the new pack, so in that case you would need to replace a lot of stuff, I think. That is the background story of the house and kind of what I was thinking about when I was building the house. But I guess we could move to the story that I found from Reddit, and I will be linking this story down below so you can go and read that yourself too if you want to. But this story is called My Parents' Haunted House. This is the first time I am posting anything online about this. I am a 31-year-old woman, married, and recently moved back in with my parents due to moving back to the town I grew up. My husband and I are taking our time looking for our own place due to wanting something nice in the area, and that is usually hard to find. This story takes place in my parents' house starting back 10 years ago. A description of the house for a bit of content: it's a 2-story brick/stone house in city limits, but still surrounded by nothing but woods. You have to go through a garage that leads into the kitchen with the first bedroom to your left. Past the kitchen is the main living room, and to the right is the hall that is very open. In this area you will find the main dining room and second living area, but if you continue straight you will see the staircase to your left, and even further straight is my parents' bedroom and bathroom. Going up the stairs you will come to the third living area with two sets of French doors side by side that lead to the outside balcony. Going straight, the A-sharp left leads you to the other 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. This is where the story takes place. The first time I stepped foot into this house, I immediately felt off, like something just wasn't right. I felt a presence, but I didn't know what or who it was. I brushed it off, thinking I was just reading too much into it. I continued to feel this for the next couple of years, and because of this I didn't much enjoy visiting them. My parents liked to gamble a lot back then, so they would ask me to babysit my baby brother and sister one day on the weekend. My boyfriend, now husband, loved them, so he would always babysit with me. The first few times I really didn't pay attention to the feeling I would get because we would be busy playing or eating with the kids. After that, things kinda chilled out and we would end up watching movies until it was time for us to go to bed. My husband is a freak of nature. It's like he falls asleep the second his eyes are closed. Me, on the other hand, takes me forever to get comfortable enough to wind down my mind. I also don't sleep well, even when I do finally get to sleep. This night was the first time I saw and heard something in this brand new house. In this room, the bed is facing the doorway, but not directly in front of it. With the double doors open, you can see the front of the staircase and all the way down the hallway. As long as the light is on, that is. This night only one of the hallway lights were on. I was laying in bed with the TV on, but the volume down low so I could hear if one of the kids called me. I was almost asleep when I heard one of my siblings coming down the stairs. I opened my eyes a bit and wait for them to get to the bottom, but they never do. I don't think anything of it, close my eyes and begin to drift off again. A few minutes later I hear again. So I open my eyes and wait, but again they never get to the bottom. This time I sit up and listen. A bit spooked, but nothing I cannot handle. I get a bit nervous, but still I go check to see if they are there and maybe they are scared to come all the way down or something. No one is there. Confused and thinking I must be dreaming it up, I go back to bed, this time closing one of the double doors. It was few hours later, around 2:30 a.m, when I feel like someone is very near me, as if they are standing next to the bed right in front of me. Usually, when I open my eyes, I would see the green glow of the alarm clock on the bedside table, but this time I saw nothing. It was pitch black. I couldn't even see the hallway light, and the TV had turned off on its own. I felt like I couldn't move. I was awake now, and scared to my bones. I was finally able to call out my husband's name loud enough to wake him. He reached over me and turned on the light, and right then the scared feeling went away, and I was able to move. I freaked out and started crying. I couldn't begin to explain to him what happened because even if I had, he didn't believe in those things. So I told him I was having a nightmare and asked him to go check on the kids. When he came back, he said the kids were fine and got back in bed. With the light on, I was able to fall back to sleep, but it took me forever. The next day, I told my mom about what had happened, and that's when she told me. She had been hearing footsteps on the stairs at night and even saw someone standing by the door at times. She didn't tell anyone because she did not want to scare the kids. This is when she told me what she had done. She wanted to know what was going on in her house, so she went and bought a voice recorder. One day, she decided to use it and went up the stairs while everyone was gone. She asked your typical questions of who is here, what do you want, and why are you here? And then said, you have passed away and need to go into the light, you are not welcome here. The next day, she decided to leave the recorder in one of the bedrooms upstairs while it was recording for about 4 hours while she was out running errands. I asked if she had checked it, and to my surprise, she said she was too afraid to listen to it alone. I wanted to listen to it. Off we went to the computer and began listening to it after it was uploaded. During the 4 hours she was gone, you could hear something clicking or tapping. Sounds of a drawer opening and closing, but we weren't for sure. Then we listened to the part where she was asking questions. Now you could hear a sound that resembled a fan or maybe static throughout the whole thing, so some sounds were indistinguishable. But the one sound we did hear chilled us to the core. When she asked, "What do you want?" it gave us an answer. Changing my brother's name for this. The answer was Jamie. It didn't answer any other questions except for that one. I cried immediately. He wasn't having night terrors for no reason. Something was there for him every night. We soon asked a friend to cleanse the house. For a long time everything has been okay. My brother stopped having night terrors. My mom was able to sleep comfortably and all was good again. Until now. I have been living in this house for a month and a half. For the last 3 weeks I have been seeing things everywhere, especially when I am alone. Because of this, I won't stay alone anymore. I get this strong feeling of being watched, and I had the feeling of someone pulling on my blanket at night. I think it is time for another cleanse. And just for your information, I'm the third generation on my mother's side of the family that is able to see spirits. My dad's side of the family has, in the past before I was born, practiced black magic. I don't like speaking to them and I won't dabble in any of the spiritual stuff most people do. I stay as far away from it as possible and I recommend that you do too. Even if you are careful, these spirits can haunt for a long time, even after you are gone. So, that was the first story. And when I was reading this, it is so creepy. I'm not sure if I fully believe in this story, but that might just be me because I have never experienced anything like that. But still, when I was reading this, it was so creepy. And actually, the writer has done an update to this story, but it was on I got this story from Reddit, from I don't know if they are called groups, but it is called free horror stories that you can read on these videos. So I'm not able to read the update on this video, but if you want to go and read that, I think the writer linked the update to the comments, so you can go and check that out, and this is linked down below to the video's description if you want to read this original story yourself. And because I knew this speed build will be a longer one, I had another story for you, and this also takes place in haunted house, so it fits the theme and the speed build. I lived in a haunted house for over a decade. When I was 8 years old, my family moved into the house I grew up in. It wasn't an old house and no one had died in it, and it didn't even feel creepy. Just an average suburban house in your average southern suburbs. The way the house was set up, when you came in the front door, there was a hallway with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom to the right. The large living room in front of you, with a half wall separating it from the dining room to the left, and the kitchen on the other side of the dining room. Where the kitchen and the living room met, there was another small hallway and the master bedroom, a bedroom that was used as an office, and a bathroom, and then breakfast nook leading to a laundry and utility area at the end of the kitchen. My room was to the right of the front door and down the hallway past the bathroom with the other bedroom on this hallway. Used for storage mostly, as I was my mother's only child and my half-brother and sister didn't live with us and rarely came to visit. The first time anything really happened in the house, I was about 9 and had lost my last tooth. Still being a kid, of course the tooth fairy was expected. So when I woke up in the middle of the night and saw a figure standing in the middle of my room, I assumed it was the tooth fairy. It was bald and only about 3 or 4 feet tall, about the size of an average child, standing completely still in the middle of my room. I remember my parents telling me that if I was awake, the tooth fairy wouldn't leave me any money, so I rolled over and went back to sleep. When I got up the next morning, I excitedly told my parents that I had seen the tooth fairy the night before. I described what I had seen, but they told me it was just a dream. For the next several years after that, I continued seeing and hearing minor things in the house. When I was home alone, cabinet doors would open and close. I would hear dishes being moved around in the kitchen, or cat's movement out of the corner of my eye. The most common was often at night I would wake up to see a young woman hovering over my bed. She was dressed like the Rosie, the Riveter character from the old posters from the 1940s, with the red and white bandana around her hair and a denim shirt. When I would see her, she would stare at me for a few minutes and then slowly float over my body and out through the wall behind me. I was never afraid of her though. When I was about 12, my parents divorced and it was just me and my mother living in the house. By the time I was in my late teens, my mother was rarely home and my house became the hangout for me and my friends. Most nights, everyone gathering together to play Dungeons and Dragons or something similar after work. One night we were hanging out but didn't want to play, so I pulled out the Ouija board I had picked up at the local toy store a few weeks before, wanting to try it out. We sat in my room to play with the lights out and the door closed, and it went pretty normally, nothing crazy happening for the most part. The only strange thing that happened was at one point we asked something like "show yourself," and at that point we heard the front door open and close, and heavy footsteps coming down the hall towards my room. The handle of my door started to turn and one of the guys jumped up and locked the door before it could open. We didn't hear anything else, no footsteps moving away from the door or anything, and after a little while we turned on the light and opened the door to see if my mother had come home unexpectedly. The house was empty and the front door locked. We decided we had enough of the game at that point, put it up and everyone went home. A few weeks later we were hanging out at my house again, this time playing Dungeons and Dragons. Though one of the girls that usually came had to work late and had classes in the morning, so she had said she wouldn't be coming. While we were sitting in the living room to play, at around 2 in the morning, suddenly we heard footsteps run across my wooden front porch. It sounded like someone very short or small child running quickly. Everyone in the room heard it, and we had a conversation as to if our friend had changed her mind and had just arrived, as she was very short and it made more sense than a child running through the neighborhood at that time of night. When she never came into the house, we all got up to look and there was no one outside and her car wasn't in the yard. Her boyfriend, who was with us, gave her a call and verified that it wasn't her, as she had just arrived home on the other side of the town and was headed to bed. Around this time, the activity in the house picked up. I saw shadow figures with red eyes often in the living and dining room of the house, footsteps and other noises at all hours of the day or night. I started waking up in my room to see hooded figures standing near my window and door. It was around this time my half-brother, who I was close to, passed away. It was sudden and I hadn't seen him in years, as he had gotten into drugs and my mother had decided to keep me away from him because she didn't want him to be a bad influence on me. After that, I had wake up hearing his voice saying my name in the middle of the night often. On a whim, one night I sat down and typed out a letter to him on my computer that was in my bedroom since I was home alone that night and was bored. This computer was hooked up to an old dot matrix printer, one of the really loud kind that makes all kinds of racket when it's running. After I wrote the letter, I felt silly for it and deleted it without saving or printing it and shut down the computer before I went to bed. Around 3 in the morning I woke up and my bed was soaking wet. At first I thought my puppy had peed on the bed because he was too small to get down, even though he was housebroken and I had taken him out just before bed. I got up to let him outside and change my bed sheets when I realized the wet was just water and it was more than a tiny puppy could have made. On my way to take my blankets to the laundry room, I passed the bathroom in my hallway and noticed the light was on, even though I had turned off all the lights before bed. There, sitting on the counter, was a picture from the kitchen, with inside still wet. When I was really young, my brother used to wake up my sister and I up by throwing water on us before it made me laugh. When I got back into my room and started making my bed, I noticed a piece of paper laying on top of my printer. It was the letter that I had written to him and never saved or printed. The computer was still shut down and the printer was off, but it had been printed out, turned off the printer, and laid on top of it as if someone had read it. The normal things like this continued for a few years when I lived there off and on before turning dark shortly before I moved out of the house for good. The hooded figures appeared more often. I woke up one night with the feeling that I was being stared at, only to roll over and see what looked like a rotting corpse a few inches from my face. And one night woke up to a hooded man standing at the foot of my bed with my bedroom door open when it had been closed before. He held up his hand and a ball of blue light appeared in his palm, which he threw at my face. He and the ball disappeared just before it hit me, but the room was so cold that I could see my breath on a normally hot southern summer night. When I was in my early 20s, after I moved out for good, I had one last experience in the house. My mother hadn't been to the house in months and was preparing to sell it. I had told one of my cousins about the things that had happened there through the years, and he decided that one night, out of boredom, he and a friend of his would pick me up to go ghost hunting in the house while it was empty. We each had a camera, and he had a voice recorder that we brought. We set the recorder in my old bedroom and spent an hour or two wandering around the house taking pictures. When we got done, we came back to my room and sat to listen to recording and discuss all of the nothing that we had found. On the recording, we could hear our voices moving from room to room and talking about how my cousin's friend's camera had a sexy stutter sound, and the fact that my camera stopped working almost as soon as we walked in the door. About 20 minutes into the recording, when we could hear all three of our voices echoing from the other side of the house, a deep voice that sounded like it was right up against the microphone on the recording spoke, "Get the fuck out." I found out a few years later that my mom actually had several experiences in that house with waking up to find an older man in his 50s or 60s looking through her closet or seeing him just wandering around the house. When she had say anything or get his attention, he would turn around and look at her and then vanish. She always thought she was just dreaming or something, but with everything I saw over the years at that house, I can't help but think it was something else. And that's it for the second paranormal story. What did you think about these stories? For myself, it is really hard to believe in paranormal stories since I haven't experienced much. But somehow, there is still part of me who wants to believe, and there are still some experiences that I myself, but I have experienced that I really cannot explain, or I can, but I'm not sure if that is something I really believe in, because the experiences have been really strange, to be honest, and maybe in some video I can tell you about those experiences, but for now I think that's it for the stories this time, and I hope you like these stories. I will link them down below and you can go read them yourself if you want to. And in the first story there was also some update, but I haven't read the update, so I don't know if it is as creepy as the first story was, but I am probably going to read that also on my own, because I can't read it in this video because it was not on the same thread, I think they are called. I hope you still like this video, even though it was a bit creepier, I think, or at least when I was reading these stories I was really creeped out. But now I will let you enjoy the rest of the speed build with music only. So if you like this video, remember to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe my channel, and I hope your day or morning or afternoon, whatever it is for you when you are watching this video, is amazing and not creepy at all. So yeah, let's catch up on my next video. Bye!